Hello everybody, thank you for watching. I'm Ethan Barry, and I would like to talk to you today about the Cherokee Indian tribe. They were a tribe of Native American Indians who were home mostly to the southern United States at the time of the settlers. Many of them lived in Georgia and North Carolina. The Cherokee Indians at the time of the settlers were a mixed group of people. Some were warriors and others were not. These were often separated into two separate villages. They had white villages and they had red villages. The red villages were groups of people who were more likely to go to war. They were the warriors. The white villages were the individuals who were not seeking war, and the white villages also served as a sanctuary for wrongdoers in the community. These villages fell under a different leader depending on what they were. The red villages fell under the jurisdiction of the Supreme War Chief, who oversaw many villages, all the red villages. The white villages fell under the jurisdiction of the Supreme Peace Chief, and he oversaw the villages that were seeking the peace. The Native American Indians, specifically the Cherokee, lived in a variety of houses at the time of the settlers. In the beginning, in the summertime, before they built log homes like the settlers did, they lived in rectangular houses in the summers, like that. Their winter homes, which they would move to in the winter, were shaped more like this. The summer home, as you saw, was a rectangle-shaped building built of bark and mud, and it was a lot less insulated because of the summertime. They didn't need to worry about warmth as much. Those summer houses were much larger because they lived in large families all together. The winter homes were shaped more like an upside-down basket. They were caked with mud, whatever they could to insulate them, and they were sunken partially into the ground. This allowed, during the wintertime, to maintain a much warmer house than they could have in their summer homes. The Cherokee Indians lived in approximately 200 fairly large villages at the time of the settlers, and they lived in those type of houses, and there was about 30 to 60 per village. They were all circled around a community house or a townhouse. In this area, there was a community gathering area and the townhouse to house any gatherings, get-togethers, or weddings that they had in the community. Those pictures came from AAA-nativearts.com, which I appreciate being able to use those. The Cherokee Indians at the time of the settlers spoke only a spoken language. They had no written language. And it was thanks to Sequoyah, who was a Cherokee Indian. He was the first one to actually create their written language, which helped expedite their communication and everything to help them come into the new century slightly. According to the CherokeeNation.com, the Sequoyah was a Cherokee Indian who had joint problems. Because of this, for a long time, he was not a warrior. He was a trader, actually. He traded goods. He did end up volunteering to serve in the War of 1812. He was in several battles, and he served for a total of 147 days. For that time, he was rewarded $66.80. Once he was out of the war, he focused himself even more on creating the written language to help expedite communication in the Cherokee Indian tribes. Many of his Cherokee Indian brothers thought he was dabbling in sorcery. When he finally came out with the written language, which was right here, also from AAA-nativearts.com, there's roughly 83 symbols there to represent all the syllables in the Cherokee Indian language. He created that language, and when he showed it to his brothers, they actually put him on trial. This trial was for sorcery, and they thought they were attempting to execute him because they thought he was dabbling in sorcery. Now, one can hardly talk about the Cherokee Indian tribe without also bringing up the Trail of Tears. According to ushistory.org, the Trail of Tears began in 1838, when 20,000 Cherokee Indians were forced out of Georgia by President Jackson. They were corralled into stockades by gunpoint at bayonet point, and they were forced out of their homes, and they were given property in Oklahoma, or so they were told. On the trail, the 1,200 miles out to Oklahoma from their home, nearly a quarter of them died on the march. Approximately 5,000 Cherokee Indians died on the march from a variety of diseases, from exposure, from hunger. When they were moved to Oklahoma, they were told they would not have their land touched ever again, that it was theirs forever. This changed quickly as far as their land was getting pushed back, and the white men kept on taking more of their land. And finally, in 1907, Oklahoma became a state, and that land there they lost forever. The Cherokee Indians have had a very rough go of it, and from our government, they have never been treated fairly. But they have always been a very peaceful culture, and it's a very amazing culture when you really start to dig into them. And thank you very much, everyone, for watching.